Hey now, and welcome to the 2025 Getting Over Awards, also known as the Meatys. I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. As we celebrate the best and brightest, criticize the worst and dimmest that professional wrestling had to offer in 2025. That's right, Getting Over is back for our 6th annual award show as we hand out Meatys in 24 categories with nominees spanning WWE and NXT Developmental, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, CMLL, TNA Wrestling, and Stardom. Award winners will have earned the majority of votes from myself, the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, our co-host, Vintage Chris Vanini, and you, our listeners, the Getting Over heads. But for the first time, due to a significant increase in voting totals, it is your ballots that will carry the plurality of weight as we have altered our calculations. No longer will our 3 voting bodies each represent a 1/3 share of the voting. Rather, all of you, our listeners, will get 40% of the vote. This was another tremendous year in professional wrestling, and as such, it is our second of 2 2025 recap episodes that we have already published with our smash hit year in review show in the podcast feed. If you have not already lent your ear holes to that performance enhancing audio, be sure to find it and listen as soon as you can. Here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, we remind you that this program
is all about the fire.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. But don't forget to follow us on social media, because on Twitter and Blue Sky, that is not only how we source our nominees and provided you with the opportunity to vote, it is where you can find episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. You can do all of that at Getting Overcast. And then over on YouTube, you can listen to our shows and watch full-length video interviews. So whether it is Twitter, Blue Sky, or YouTube, you can find us at Getting Overcast. You know, Chris, as we move into this presentation of the 2025 Getting Over Awards, aka
the Meatys,
I do have a couple informational housekeeping items to share. I already told you about the voter share. We replaced an award for 2025, removing Hater of the Year. That was real applicable for 2024, a little bit less so in 2025. And we substituted Most Improved Wrestler, an honor that you and I discussed bestowing to a professional wrestler in this space about 12 months ago. As I have long teased previously, on our next WWE episode, we will be introducing a couple of year-long tracking awards that will be contested throughout professional wrestling from January 1st to December 31st, 2026. But when it comes to these 2025 Meatys, for the second year in a row, nearly half of our honorees are unanimous winners across our 3 voting bodies. And that leads me to ask you this one question, Chris. As you went through the ballot yourself, did you find it difficult to make some of these decisions?
it was either an obvious number 1 for me or an incredibly weak group of candidates that it was hard to pick one because I didn't really feel comfortable with any of them winning. So it was highs and lows in terms of, I think, the year in wrestling.
I largely agree with that. There were definitely some categories where I was like scratching my chin and I was like, man, I don't know if anyone really deserves this or anything really deserves this. And we'll certainly go category by category here coming up. But there were a couple where Silver King struggled. And I will tell you the main one was match of the year. There were so many high quality wrestling matches in 2025 that no matter what style you prefer, what promotion, what wrestlers, I don't even know, like if you said, just pick a WWE match of the year, just pick an AEW match of the year. I don't think it would be an easy process at all because there were so many that directly competed with each other, let alone at the larger scale, promotion versus promotion. So for me, match of the year was by far the most difficult.
Yes, I would agree. That one so many good candidates. Even narrowing down that field was difficult. Match of the year, definitely the hardest one.
You are not here to listen to us pontificate about the Meatys, so let's not waste any further time. Let's get to the awards, ironically coming less than 24 hours after the Golden Globes. As your host of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast and your master of ceremonies this evening, please allow the Silver King to officially and formally welcome you to the 2025 Getting Over Awards, also known as
the Meatys.
Allow us here at Getting Over to begin our presentation of 24 Meatys as voted on by all of you, our Getting Overheads, your host and co-host, by honoring those who, like us, but certainly much better than us, lend their voices to professional wrestling. Your nominees for Broadcaster of the Year: Wade Barrett, Corey Graves, and Joe Tessitore. The Meaty for 2025 Broadcaster of the Year goes to
they're not lining up Skull and Bones on top of a table. What in the world? Oh! I've seen it all. I've seen it all. Crap! I've seen it all.
Joe Tessitore, a first-time Meaty Award winner here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, ending a 3-year unanimous reign by the voice of WWE, Michael Cole. What a come on, Chris. This is for Joe Tessitore. In this space 12 months ago, we discussed how Joe could be a sneaky contender for this award. We thought Wade Barrett was going to have a major opportunity to win it. There's no question in my mind, and you've certainly heard me discuss it here on the show, Cole took a major step back in 2025, both in terms of his match calling, his move recognition, simply saying some things that were kind of out of school and a little bit odd. And this award was completely up for grabs in 2025. Tessitore not only took it, he took it unanimously. First place votes from all three of our voting bodies.
In, late 2024, when we did those awards, there was a part of me that wanted to vote for Tess then, because he was still new on the scene, had just joined WWE for not that long, and you could tell right away, like, oh, this guy was born to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tess does everything. I love my college football and boxing and everything. The whole the crazy golf show. This is
holy
what
moly.
he's
Yeah.
This is what he's better at than anything. It's so natural.
Yeah.
All the things he would do in other sports fit here perfectly. There's never a moment. It always feels authentic from him.
Mm-hmm.
Like the emotion always feels real. It's gotten to the point now where when I listen to him do college football, I go, wait a minute, that's the guy from it was Raw, now it's SmackDown. Joe, as quick and easy a transition to WWE announcer that maybe we've ever seen after, every year we've done this, there's been kind of some new people in the chair as they've tried to figure it out, and they figured it out.
It's astounding. When he started, you and I, as we do with anyone who joins commentary, no matter the company, the show, we say, hey, we're going to judge them initially from their first week, and then we're going to give them 3 months. And we'll evaluate them after that. We'll give them a legitimate time. I think we were 4 weeks into Tessitore's run. It may have been 3. Where you and I said on the program, we don't need to wait. Like he got it. He figured it out.
Yep.
He was missing move names and he didn't know, the machinations of certain things in a match. And then he just picked it up because Joe Tess is like the consummate broadcasting professional. And I will tell you, when it came to my vote here, it was somewhat difficult because I really wanted to give Corey Graves and Wade Barrett their flowers. Corey, for being so multiple. I mean, he took on the AAA commentary like it was absolutely nothing. He was thrust out of his position by Pat McAfee, who we will talk about later in these awards, I promise you. And I always felt bad for him throughout the entire year. He did NXT, he did the AAA stuff, he went back to the main roster, and it was seamless. Wade Barrett has such a tremendous natural back and forth with Tess that he was your second place vote. He was the listener's second place vote. I gave it to Corey. I don't want to say out of pity, but I just felt like he really deserved it this year in particular. I love Wade. He does a tremendous job. But as I was going through what clips I wanted to play for Tess's victory here, I came across this.
Your cringeworthy glazing of Dirty Dom is just...
No. Glazing? How dare you? The lonely housewives of planet Earth are starting to feel a little hot under the collar right now, Joe. And they all have envy for Liv Morgan.
There is nobody feeling hot under the collar seeing Dirty Dom other than the woman holding his hand.
And that just speaks to their back and forth. So I'm sure Tess would say, you know, if he was here accepting the award, let's say, I'm sure he would say something along the lines of, this belongs as much to Wade as it does I, because it really is the 1-2 punch of them that allows Tess to shine and certainly has made Barrett even better in color commentary.
Fantastic team for sure.
And yeah, Michael Cole didn't receive votes. He was nominated initially, but not among our finalists. And this does provide me the opportunity to let all of you know, because I didn't at the beginning, that the final names that I am reading for each category, they are the ones who received votes. There were certainly many other nominees. They were part of our ballot. It is available. You can't vote anymore, of course, but you can go check out the ballot and see everyone that was nominated across multiple companies. Moving over to our second award, a unique one here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, Ringside Talent of the Year. These are managers and commentators and people who work in the communications aspect for these companies who otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to get shine. The nominees for Ringside Talent of the Year: Jackie Redmond, Nick Aldis, Alicia Taylor, Paul Heyman, and Adam Pearce. The Meaty for Ringside Talent of the Year goes to...
I have had enough of this. It's obvious to me and everybody watching that you lot are hell-bent on destroying each other over those tag team titles. And since you didn't get out of your system the first time around, here's what's gonna happen. At SummerSlam, those tag team titles go high above the ring, and it will be tables, ladders, and chairs for the WWE Tag Team Championship.
SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis, and you will notice those were back-to-back TLC clips that we played here on the show, because that match, unfortunately, will not be honored otherwise. A little spoiler alert there, but nevertheless wanted to make sure it was mentioned here in this year-end award show. Nick Aldis received your first place vote, Vintage. Tell us why.
Yeah, you know, he's done this for a couple of years now, but he really kind of came into his own as feeling like the guy who was running the show. It felt like Pierce this year was pretty much known for just not having any control over Raw in kayfabe, obviously. But Aldis, his size, his presence, his accent, frankly, it brings a level of gravitas to the role. And I thought there's never a segment with Nick Aldis where I think like he's an issue or something like that. Like there can be problems with booking or this or that.
Sure.
All this is never a problem. He always delivers.
Yeah, pretty much everything you said applied to my first place vote getter, which was Adam Pearce, who is more of a character than Aldis. And that's why I felt he deserved it, because it was, you know, look, a 2025 award, sure, but you're talking about like 4 or 5 years of Pearce playing this role and not really getting recognized in a major way. And I just felt, considering Raw, by the way, was the better program, even though he, of course, didn't have anything directly to do with that, I thought he was the more engaging general manager figure this year. Aldis, I thought, if we were only giving an award for general managers, might have deserved it in 2024. I will note that Aldis, like I said, was my second place vote getter, the Getting Overheads as well. Their first place vote getter was Paul Heyman. And for me, Heyman just fell off this year, not from the standpoint that he was actively worse in any way. He was just less prominent. He was not as major in the storylines outside of the road to WrestleMania, which was brief. He took a significant amount of time off during the year, and his role with the Vision later in the year wasn't the same as it was earlier in the year. So neither you or I voted for Heyman. My third place vote, I just wanted to mention real briefly, Alicia Taylor. She has picked up the mantle from Samantha Irvin in a major way as WWE's lead ring announcer. And as I was listening to clips and cutting the award winners for this show, it was time and again, I heard her voice and I said, you know what? She is massively, massively underrated. So I wanted to make sure she got her flowers. Paul Heyman, back-to-back unanimous winner when this award was called Manager of the Year. That was 2021 and 22. Samantha Irvin, the back-to-back year, the last year. So Nick Aldis, the first ever general manager to win Ringside Talent of the Year.
Yes, I also had Alicia Taylor second, Jackie Redmond third. I think she's done a really good job too.
She's been a great backstage interviewer. Moving to our third award, Smack Talker of the Year. Only 3 nominees because those were unanimous vote getters across the board for all 3 of our bodies. Becky Lynch, CM Punk, and Naomi. The meaty for Smack Talker of the Year goes to.
Oh, what's the matter? Wasn't the man you were looking for? But I am the man you're gonna have to deal with. This has everything to do with me. You think that you only affect one person in my family? You are gonna stay here and you are going to listen to what I have to say, okay? My husband has sacrificed more for this business than you will ever know. And he is everything you will never be, okay? He's hot. He's jacked. He's talented.
Oh, you're
He's
delusional.
champion. He doesn't interrupt me. You think when you walked out of here that it just affected him and his matches? No, it was your name that they were chanting during my matches to let me know that they didn't care about me or what I was doing or who the hell I was and the hard work that I was putting in, okay? You're not the voice of the voiceless. You are the poster child for apathy. And these people, they think that I forgot about that. They think I forgave them because what? They put me on their shoulders and carried me to the main event of WrestleMania? No, they didn't get me to the main event of WrestleMania. I got me to the main event of WrestleMania. Just like me and my husband got this business to where it is today. And I'm the greatest female wrestler of all time. And it's not just me saying it, other people say it. Sports Illustrated says it.
And the Silver King Adam Silverstein says it. Becky Lynch, the greatest woman on the mic of all time, and our 2025 Smack Talker of the Year, a unanimous vote getter, the first woman ever to win this award. It was AEW dominated the first 3 years, Eddie Kingston, and then MJF back-to-back in 21 and 22. LA Knight, a unanimous winner in 2023. Drew McIntyre, deservingly, last year for feuding with CM Punk. And that promo, of course, was Becky going at it with CM Punk in one of the best segments of 2025, where she went toe-to-toe with arguably the greatest mic worker of the last, 20 years, along with, certainly John Cena's up there and some others. And she stood toe-to-toe with him, took barbs, answered him right back. And that was just one example of the dynamite work that she did on the stick this year. Becky Lynch, for me, a no question Smack Talker of the Year.
Yep, my number one too. She did it with multiple people and multiple storylines.
Women, men.
Yeah, like it was just consistent through the entire year. Absolutely number one. And that was frankly the only reason I put her number one over. My number two was Naomi, who was fantastic. And really doing that year in review episode reminded me how good Naomi was this year, but only because Naomi obviously, midway through the year, stepped away due to pregnancy. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason she didn't win it. Becky did it the full year, delivered every single time, raised a bunch of people along with her. Fantastic.
It's incredible. I mean, she had great promo battles with Lyra Valkyria, CM Punk, AJ Lee. Obviously,
Maxine Dupree. Even.
Yeah, I was going to say toward the end of the year, Maxine Dupree of all people, not to mention just the promos that she would cut individually and everything that she did on social media as well. It was an absolute no-brainer. My second place vote getter was CM Punk, which I didn't believe it was going to be. And then as I did the year in review and I remembered the WrestleMania feud and I remembered the continuation of the Seth Rollins feud into these segments with Becky Lynch where he tore her apart a couple times and then so on through the end of the year, I was like, man, Punk had a sneaky great year on the stick, but not as great as the man, the unanimous winner of Smack Talker of the Year. Our fourth award, pay-per-view premium live event of the year. We have 4 final nominees. WWE Elimination Chamber, AEW All in Texas, WWE Evolution, and WWE WrestleMania 41. The Meaty for pay-per-view of the year goes to
Naomi is cashing in her Money in the Bank contract. This is now a triple threat match.
And again, it's a triple threat match.
Championship.
It's a triple threat match. And Rhea Ripley off the post, split-legged moonsault, covered by Naomi. Naomi's the world champion. Holy cow, Naomi's the world champion.
Here is your winner and new Women's World Champion, Naomi.
WWE Evolution. And by the way, that clip is exactly what I was talking about with Alicia Taylor. So give her her flowers that she well deserves here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. This show, Chris, top to bottom, for me was a no-brainer as the Meaty for pay-per-view of the year. The other 3 nominees were exceptional shows. All in Texas was banger after banger match-wise. The best half of WrestleMania 41, if you put that into a singular card, you would say that's one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. The problem was there was another half to that show. And then WWE Elimination Chamber, both of those matches were incredible, but it was a real short card. For me, WWE Evolution, it delivered everything. You not only had the awesome Io Sky Rhea Ripley match with Naomi cashing in Money in the Bank, a match of the year contender. You had Stephanie Vaquer emerging, winning that battle royal. Jade Cargill beating Naomi in that no-holds-barred match. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus putting on a shocking match. The women's tag team title, I want to say it was a 4-way. The NXT match where it was really good with JC Jane and Jordan Grace, but Blake Monroe turned heel. That was a big moment. And then the opening triple threat with Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria. It was not just banger after banger on the show. Everything felt like it mattered. The crowd, you remember the 2018 Evolution? It was all in for that. It was even more all in for this. And we left this show saying, not that WWE should do this occasionally. We left saying they need to do this every single year. And if that's the reaction that you're going to get, then it's no surprise to me that this was a unanimous vote getter in first place for pay-per-view of the year.
Yep. And I don't know what our individual post-show grades were, but I remember thinking at the time when Evolution happened, this was the best show of the year. Mm-hmm. And I think it might have been the highest graded show we did, or at least it should be right up there.
I feel like we were 96, 95, something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. And a lot of times, like, I'll see the nominees and I'm like, I don't remember anything that happened on the show. Let me go look at the Wikipedia, see what the match card was. And sometimes it's like, all right, which one do I remember the most? And in this case, it was Evolution, number 1 for me. Number 2 for me was All in Texas, which I was there. That added to my feeling on that as well. But really good show.
Yeah, second place vote getters for the Silver King and our Getting Overheads was WWE Elimination Chamber. All in Texas was my third place. I thought it was a phenomenal show. You and the listeners voted for WrestleMania 41. In third place, this does end a 2-year streak. WrestleMania 39 and 40 were unanimous winners in 2023 and 2024. Our first 2 years, AEW Full Gear won in 2021 and WWE Clash in the Castle in 2022. Moving on to the TV show of the year. Only 3 nominees because SmackDown did not even deserve consideration. Those nominees, WWE Raw, WWE's NXT, and AEW Dynamite. The Meaty for TV show of the year goes to WWE's Monday Night Raw. This is the third straight year Raw is taking home TV show of the year, all of them unanimous. In fact, SmackDown had a 3-year run immediately preceding that. So the WWE shows have dominated this for the 6 years of the Meaty's existence. But for me, this was not a question whatsoever. NXT was an extremely strong show in 2025, got a bit weaker as the year progressed, and they integrated TNA and then AAA talent, started doing stuff with LFG. It just became too much at the end of the year to really outshine Raw, which got a rough start, that first episode on Netflix. But boy, oh boy, did it shine through, even coming out of WrestleMania, where it only seemed to get better. Raw, the unanimous winner of TV show of the year.
It's pretty clear to me for a 2.5 hour show. It always felt like it was paced well. What does it say, by the way, that you play that music that Raw enters in? And in my head, I'm waiting for Joe Tessitore to start talking over it,
right,
to describe who's walking into the building.
Exactly.
I guess I've gotten conditioned to how they start these shows. But yeah, I went Raw number 1, NXT number 2. I may have had NXT higher if I watch it more. I just don't always have the ability to. And I had Dynamite third, but I think we said on the year in review, this was a step forward year for AEW.
Definitely. 100%. And Dynamite was a much, much better show in 2025 than it was 2024. The issue with it just is pure inconsistency. You will have an incredible episode like a Raw, let's equivalent to a great Raw episode. Then you'll get a SmackDown episode. And that's only one show. Whereas WWE, it was able to split its pitiful, programming between a different brand, which is why SmackDown wasn't even nominated. If this was WWE TV versus AEW TV, maybe it would have been a little bit closer. But when you're going individual TV shows, Raw was just clearly on top week in, week out. It was an easy watch, a little bit of repetitiveness, sure. And it wasn't, the smoothest year, not as smooth as it was the year prior. But yeah, it was the TV show of the year. Let's move over to promotion of the year. And there are 4 nominees here. TNA Wrestling, a resurgent year for TNA. WWE, AEW, and CMLL. The Meaty for promotion of the year goes to WWE, a unanimous vote getter here 3 years in a row. It has claimed this spot the only 3 years of the award's existence. I think we all understand why WWE is winning promotion of the year based on especially the awards that we've already handed out. Forget the fact that it was a tremendous business year for the company and they had John Cena's last match. There was some major tentpole moments here in terms of the Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman turn at WrestleMania, Naomi cashing in Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank, the Naomi and Jade Cargill feud, on and on, the creation of the Vision. I mean, we could keep going here. The return of AJ Lee. WWE had so much going for it in 2025. Despite that, it was a major step down creatively for the company from this year to last year and certainly even 2023 before it. But when you compare it to AEW, TNA, and CMLL, who were the other finalists here, it just was an unquestionable winner for me.
It wasn't unquestionable to me. I thought, like you said, it was a step down for WWE this year. It was a step up for AEW, which I had second. And it was a huge step up for TNA, who I had third. Mm-hmm. So I think these were probably closer than they've been the last few years. I do think, like, if you take out Cena from this year, you went through it. There were big moments, but as we kind of went through these awards, and we'll get into more of them, I realized how much of this year was kind of baked around
Dominated
Cena.
by Cena. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what does that mean for WWE in 2026 when they don't have that to lean on a lot? We'll see. WWE is the winner again.
It's fair to question, though, whether the concentration and dominance of Cena affected the creative product, because the Cena creative itself struggled in many cases throughout the year. And then when you say, well, but they were putting so much attention and so many main events toward that one individual. So not only, and that creative was not perfect, it kind of dragged everything else down, made it secondary, right? So if you didn't have the Cena of it all, would they have won? No, but other things would have taken its place. And that's
very possible.
That's the tough thing. So yes, you and the listeners both voted AEW second. I voted them third because I wanted to give CMLL its props. They had a record year. It's understandable that an American audience basically voted it fourth when I tallied up the votes. For me, TNA came on late over the latter third of the year. I don't believe it necessarily deserved it. I do believe it has a case in 2026 to finish a little bit higher than third overall here in the vote getting. But CMLL was packing Arena Mexico time and again. Mystico and Bandito have become even bigger stars than they already were, and they're on a hot streak that just needed to be recognized. So they were fantastic. I just wanted to make sure they got mentioned. AEW, as we talked about, a improvement in creative and show quality, undoubted year over year. Still for me, lacking in terms of logic, consistency, and I'm hoping that we see more of that in 2026. And the way 2025 ended, I actually believe that will happen. That's hugely positive for them. Moving over to Booker of the Year, the same three finalists we have had since this award started a few years ago. Shawn Michaels leading NXT, Paul Levesque leading WWE, and Tony Khan leading AEW. The Meaty for Booker of the Year goes to
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the looks, the drive, so go wild. I've got the moves that really move 'em. I say chill up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Had to play the chorus there. Shawn Michaels of NXT not only winning Booker of the Year, doing so unanimously, snapping a 3-year unanimous streak from Paul Levesque leading WWE Creative. I gotta tell you, I knew I was voting for HBK for months before the Meaty started. I was utterly shocked, Chris, that you did as well, and the listeners did too, because we talked about it in this spot a year ago, how HBK possibly deserved it in 2024 over Triple H, but WWE was still operating so strong and things were so great that it made sense that Paul won it. Here in 2025, as I said earlier, NXT toward the end of the year, it veered off track. And I believe a lot of that had to do with integrating TNA and AAA and LFG and just putting way too much on the shows. But for the vast majority of the year, NXT was humming. It was the easiest watch week to week. It had the greatest concentration on the women's division. It was developing talent. It repaired the men's main event scene, which was badly in need of rehabilitation. It still is now that it called the three biggest names on the brand out to the main roster right at the end of the year. But Shawn Michaels, deserving of this award, not just for 2025, really the last couple of years, what he has done in NXT. And Chris, tell me why you voted for him in first place here.
I think just the most interesting things week to week seemed to be happening on NXT, whether that was title changes, new stars, figuring out how to put the TNA of it all in there as well. I didn't watch week to week, but when I would see clips and things coming through my feed, I found myself being like, oh, that's interesting. Let me actually go watch that more and see what that was as it related to NXT stuff. So I know it's been kind of the meme around NXT of Shawn Michaels cooking and all this kind of stuff, but looking at Stand and Deliver, some of the tentpole shows, like
for sure.
Without watching week to week, I always knew what was going on and everything seemed very everything always seemed very clearly defined.
Yeah, this was also just not a year where Levesque deserved it. As simple as that. The John Cena, how much of that was his fault and how much wasn't. Even the things that were, not his fault, once you got past those, things could have been booked better and written better and segments could have been executed better. And that all falls at his feet ultimately. And WWE did not have a banner creative year like it had the 3 years prior when he won this award. Tony Khan, as we have said multiple times, AEW improves markedly in 2025. Am I going to make him Booker of the Year when one of his shows, Collision, it's barely within storyline, and the other one, again, it has off weeks and on weeks, and there were a lot of other things that frustrated, including the Death Riders throughout the majority of the year. I couldn't give it to him. So this was unanimous across the board. Shawn Michaels first, Paul Levesque second, Tony Khan third. As I said, Levesque was a unanimous winner 2022 through 24. That streak got snapped. Next is Headline of the Year. And these were also 3 unanimous nominees, first, second, and third. WWE debuting on Netflix and ESPN. WWE signing a multi-year deal with a competitor, TNA Wrestling. And John Cena retiring, ending his in-ring career. The Meaty for Headline of the Year goes to...
I officially announce my retirement from the WWE.
I believe that clip technically happened in 2024. Nevertheless, John Cena retiring from WWE, snapping a 3-year streak where, unfortunately, Vince McMahon got the Headline of the Year in 2022. It was his retirement and Paul Levesque taking over, unanimous winner. In 2023, it was him returning to the company and merging with UFC to create TKO. In 2024, it was his lawsuits and resignation, also a unanimous winner. Chris, I think it took a major headline for WWE debuting on Netflix and ESPN in the same year to be knocked off the top spot. I actually came close to giving that my first place vote, but John Cena retiring, it had to be it. It was the biggest deal in wrestling this year, made the most headlines, and it was what WWE based its entire year around.
Yeah. In any other year without a Vince McMahon scandal, like WWE and TNA teaming up, that would have been the biggest story for like 20 years if that had happened.
Yeah.
And then moving Raw off of USA Network for the first time since the brief TNN days, and going on to Netflix, going on to putting Raw on streaming would be up there too. ESPN and WWE is something we always dreamed about as a kid, and that's happened. But ultimately, Cena dominated the year. As we said, it was the biggest thing. They put all their effort into it, and it was the thing we talked about the most throughout the season. Then I'd say it's we talked about in the review too, but like it's a credit to the Netflix deal that like there hasn't really been any hiccups. It's pretty much been the same. There hasn't been much of a transition. That's how well it's gone, actually. But the Cena thing had to be it.
Next up is Entrance of the Year. Your nominees, John Cena at SummerSlam, Naomi and her father playing guitar at SummerSlam, Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, Mystico at Grand Slam Mexico, John Cena at Saturday Night's Main Event, and CM Punk at WrestleMania. The Meaty for Entrance of the Year goes to... Tough category. CM Punk at WrestleMania with Living Color playing him, emerges from the pack. Vintage, why was this your first place vote getter?
It's actually not the part that you played. It was the part before that.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yet of Punk where the piano version of This Fire Burns plays over old clips of his WWE. I have watched that clip so many times, probably more than anything else in WWE this year. Like, it hit that perfect spot of you play the old music so the people who remember it, it's like a little extra thing. You're rewarded for remembering these things, and it tells you Punk's story. It had a through line. My addiction is wrestling. The thing he said way back then, getting the first main event. I thought it was incredibly touching. I've watched clips of inside the stadium of when that is playing, bunch of fans in the crowd singing This Fire Burns along with it. So I thought that was really, really cool. Easy number one for me.
Yeah, I was originally going to go with John Cena at SummerSlam because that was just absolutely crazy. And then I started watching back a lot of matches and a lot of clips for this show, and that's exactly what happened to me. I saw the video package coming in with This Fire Burns into Living Color with Punk and Paul Heyman and that whole thing. And I saw the crowd and how it reacted and Punk, how emotional he was. And I said, man, that's the entrance of the year. Like, as soon as I saw it a second time, or third or fourth, however many it was, I said, yeah, that's it. It's a no-brainer. So I agreed with you. Our listeners voted it in third place, a rare occasion where their voice was not heard the same way. They voted John Cena at SummerSlam number one. Again, that was my third place vote getter. I thought that was an incredible entrance. You have to remember, it was his first babyface entrance since he turned heel, and everyone had been waiting for that. And I put it for my third place just over Mystico at Grand Slam Mexico because they were very similar entrances. There was a lot more emotion with Mystico and his entrance. That was your third place vote getter. But it was the same idea where the crowd was screaming the song. And I was like, look, there were a lot of people at Grand Slam Mexico. It was MetLife Stadium screaming this for John Cena. It was his retirement year, a big babyface moment. He entered as WWE champion. And I watched that, and it was rocking. So that was my third place. My second place was John Cena at Saturday Night's Main Event. It was really emotional. And that was actually a unanimous second place vote getter. We all agreed that was the case. So entrance of the year, CM Punk with Living Color and the piano version intro of This Fire Burns. Just fantastic. Breaks a 2-year streak held by Backlash. Bad Bunny unanimously in 2023 and Jey Uso last year in 2020.
I will say the best things in the Triple H and then the TKO era as well are probably big match entrances. Like, you could almost make the case they're doing too many of them at WrestleMania. Like, it seems like sometimes half the wrestlers get a special entrance, but they do a really, really good job at that. There were a lot that could have been on here that weren't even on here. It wasn't nominated, but another one I loved that wasn't even an entrance. It was more of a moment, but Moose's entrance at NXT
was great.
And the way Booker T called it was incredible. Like, WWE is really humming on the entrances, on the big ones when they get them right. There are some very bad ones that we talk about with music problems, but when they get it right, they really get it right.
And by the way, since we didn't mention it, that Roman Reigns entrance at WrestleMania with his deceased relatives, like coming down from the rafters, having his back as he was entering this major match, that was incredible. The Seth Rollins entrance, the Easter Savior, going from, I want to say, dark to light. It was on Easter, the match. So that was awesome too. All three of them in that triple threat main event, WWE really went all out. And it was one after another. And I was like, these are all finalists, legitimately. Or not finalists, they were all nominees, for the award. And obviously two of them became finalists here. Moving to a special honor that is presented during the Meatys every year. It is the
0.0
award, Worst of the Year. Your nominees include Frankie Kazarian beating Mike Santana for the TNA Championship less than a month after he won it. The Rock breaking kayfabe, both during the Raw debut on Netflix and during a Pat McAfee show appearance following WrestleMania. Travis Scott aiding John Cena without The Rock at WrestleMania to win the WWE Championship. Charlotte Flair's return getting spoiled and then winning the Royal Rumble. And Brock Lesnar squashing John Cena as WWE made its debut on ESPN at WrestlePalooza. The Meaty for
0.0
Worst of the year goes to
Travis Scott is here! The Jack Boys are in the building too!
And what the hell he's doing, inserting himself into the main event of WrestleMania. I don't like it at all.
And Scott just slowly sauntering down to the ring. Crossroads on Cena. Here's the cover. And Travis Scott just pulled the official out of the ring.
I got to tell you, a lot of bad shit happened in 2025. I just named 5 of the nominees. There were so many more. Okay. Chris, you did not vote for this first place. Silver King and the listeners did. Obviously, Travis Scott interfering, helping John Cena win the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. That clip was just a brief audio-only look at why this was so terrible. Pat McAfee's call mentioning a bunch of members of Travis Scott's entourage that no one knows, making a big deal about it, like everyone should be loving what's happening on screen right now. Wade Barrett basically representing every fan who was watching WrestleMania. I don't like this at all. This sucks, like whatever he just said. And by the way, this didn't just happen with John Cena and Cody Rhodes in the WWE Championship. This happened during John Cena's retirement run. It happened in the main event of WrestleMania. And it happened while we were all expecting The Rock to show up because the entire storyline was based around The Rock. The only reason Travis Scott even knew John Cena in kayfabe was because The Rock brought him out at Elimination Chamber. And obviously, Travis Scott also came out on the first Raw of the year, smoking a blunt while doing Jey Uso's entrance. So, Chris, you didn't even vote for this as worst of the year. You need to explain yourself. This was an absolute no-brainer, and I'm insulted it is not unanimous.
Well, I think my feeling now is different than my feeling at the time. And my feeling at the time was, yes, this was terrible. Questions about The Rock, all of this kind of stuff. But as the rest of it played out, it's not something that bothers me as much anymore because it was part of a larger problem, which was no Rock, no plan, no this or that. So like if I'm talking about how I felt in the moment, that would have been number one. But as I look back on the year, it wasn't as disastrous as I thought it was going to be at the time. Man, is that fair?
It's fair. Like I respect.
I think it's right. That was my thought process. That it was bad, but like they got past it eventually.
They did get past it. I respect your opinion on it. But to me, it was inexcusable because there were so many other things they could have done. If Rock wasn't going to show up, just have Cena cheat on his own and win. And making it even worse was there was originally a plan to utilize Travis Scott. They were going to do a tag team match and he was going to actually wrestle. He was training with Booker T. And he just said, you know what? This isn't for me. He left WWE high and dry. So they inserted him in it for a viral moment. Let me also add the other reason why this was so terrible. It was John Cena's last WrestleMania. So he wasn't just a heel on the show, which was okay because we were all interested in that. He didn't just purposefully wrestle a bad match, which I can also stomach to a degree because it was purposeful and he was trying to get heat.
Yeah.
But they had Travis Scott in this moment, just like Travis Scott was in his heel turn at Elimination Chamber. And we said, it's kind of weird that John Cena finally turned heel. And all the pictures that we're going to have, Cody and The Rock, cool. But you have Travis Scott waving around Sage in the ring. It kind of ruins the visual of it. This ruined John Cena's final WrestleMania.
The best image of the heel turn was not WrestleMania, and it should have been.
Right.
And it's because they changed plans for Elimination Chamber, as The Rock just told us. McAfee and
by the way, a second place vote getter from the Getting Overheads. They thought that was second worst of the entire year, and deservingly so. Not just the McAfee appearance, but also that weird promo that opened Raw on Netflix. We're already concerned about WWE Unreal, and is that going to break kayfabe too much? And Rock just comes out there thanking Ted Sarandos, telling Cody Rhodes we're cool, and then less than 2 months later, he wants his soul. It was just garbage, man. And that's why, we're giving Levesque crap for the creative for WWE this year. But if you look at just those first, 4 months of 2025, you say to yourself, how much of that was actually his fault?
I mean, The Rock basically said it was Ari Emanuel's idea to do the heel turn at WrestleMania at Elimination Chamber.
No. It was Ari Emanuel's idea. Rock claims that tickets weren't selling well for Elimination Chamber, so he wanted Rock on the show. And then Rock decided that he would do a litmus test for whether fans wanted Cody to be heel by doing the Soul storyline, which never made sense on its own. I don't even want, this show will be 3 hours if I start talking about the Soul storyline and that ridiculousness. Worst of the year in 2022 was the Mogul Affiliates. In 2023, the Raw after WrestleMania, that was unanimous. So, and then in 2024, Tony Khan airing the CM Punk footage on Dynamite. So this had a lot to live up to. To me, it eclipsed pretty much all of those. This was the worst of the last 4 years, according to the Silver King.
My actual number one vote went to Lesnar squashing Cena on WrestlePalooza on ESPN. It meant nothing. It didn't help Cena. It didn't help Brock. We haven't seen him. It was a disastrous, stupid way to start the ESPN era.
Fair enough. Off from the worst, we're going to go to the best.
Big meaty man slapping meat. That's what I want.
It is, after all, what the show is named after. Big meaty moment of the year. Your 4 nominees: Gunther versus Solo Sikoa, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed destroying Roman Reigns and stealing his shoes, the Sheamus versus Rusev feud, and Oba Femi versus Moose on NXT. The meaty for big meaty moment of the year goes to
completely defenseless Roman Reigns, focused on throwing the shoes to the audience, just got split in half.
Roman with the victory tonight, but not quite the way.
Oh, God.
Oh, Breaker's loose again. Stop. Breaker, spear! Breaker loose again, about cut Reigns in half.
With a 20-yard run-up hitting top speed.
But oh no, my God, oh my God.
Here we go, Cole, from the top. Tsunami! Is a different, oh God.
Oh my God, come on! Somebody stop these guys! Reed now rush into the ring again!
And security are clearing out, is strapped to a stretcher. Roman Reigns.
He's
we're gonna get another one here.
He's helpless! He can't move!
Tsunami!
Oh my God!
There's no talking reason to 2 ice-cold killers like Bronson Reed and Brock Breaker.
Bronson Reed trying to
power
to make it
here we go.
Again! Damn it, you're gonna kill him!
Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, as Michael Cole said, killing Roman Reigns' second straight year that Bronson Reed has won this award. He tsunami'd Seth Rollins 6 times in 2024. That got it, ended a 2-year streak for Gunther, who had the Sheamus match, which got the honorary award in 2022, and the Drew McIntyre Sheamus match at WrestleMania in 2023, which won the award. The Getting Overheads carried this. This was their first place vote. Chris, you and I both chose the Oba Femi Moose match on NXT, because when I thought about big meaty moment of the year, I was thinking about 2 guys, Hoss versus Hoss, going at it. This was both of our second place vote getter, deservingly so. This was an incredible moment. That Oba Femi Moose match really stood out, though, as like the definition of this category, getting back to what it used to be outside of last year when Reed did all those tsunamis on Rollins. But the truth is, both completely deserving, and Breaker Reed destroying Reigns was a memorable moment from 2025.
Yeah, I went with Oba Femi versus Moose, not only because of the match, but also that entrance where I think, you may not have the clip now, maybe you can add it in, but Booker T's description of not wanting any water, not wanting any bread, just meat. It's really the meatiest call of all time, I think, potentially by a commentator. And like that was the moment of 2025 that I associate with meat, was Moose and Oba Femi, what their match was, and also what Booker T had to say about it.
Oh my God, Booker!
Oh yes! We know who that is. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to what he is. Oh my God, man!
It's the TNA X Division champion.
We're talking about no bread. We're talking about no water. We're talking about just meat. Oh my God. 2 grown-ass men, man. Heavyweights.
We may have to add that to the soundboard. I forgot about that clip specifically.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
That was some of the most out of just control Booker was with meat. And like he just described, everything he said there is what meaty moments and why we use the drop and all that kind of stuff. And so that's why I gave it to Obafemi. But I did have, like you said, Braun and Bronson, Roman at second.
You absolutely did. Now, before we continue with the awards, and we have plenty of them remaining, Silver King does need to remind you that these days I am all in with NordVPN, because whether it is watching Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or WWE premium live events on Netflix, AEW pay-per-views elsewhere, NordVPN is the way to go. It's easy to set up a drastically better viewing experience. You get high-quality streams, commercial-free shows when it comes to WWE. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, open Netflix when it comes to WWE, and watch the show. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship or surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing, and avoid online threats. Plus, one NordVPN account can be used on 10 devices. So get the best discount from the best VPN. Go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan, and there's no risk because Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your wrestling viewing, save money, browse safer online, and again, get the best discount for the best VPN. nordvpn.com/gettingover. All right, let's move to moment of the year. And in a strange twist, for the first time really in the history of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, we're going to be combining 2 awards into one winner. 5 nominees for moment of the year, individual moment of the year. Jade Cargill murking Naomi in Elimination Chamber. Naomi cashing in Money in the Bank at WWE Evolution. John Cena turning heel on Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber. John Cena tapping out to Gunther in his last match. AJ Lee returning to WWE. Those are the nominees for the Meaty for Moment of the Year. These are the nominees for the Mega Powers Explode Award Storyline Angle of the Year. Toni Storm and Mariah May ending their feud. Jey Uso overcoming doubt and winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Hangman Page aligning the AEW babyfaces to finally beat the Death Riders. John Cena turning heel for the first time in 20 years. And Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman aligning to create the Vision. The Meaties for Moment of the Year. And Mega Powers Explode Storyline Angle of the Year. Go to.
I gave my soul to this ring and these people a long time ago. Hey, Rock, go fuck yourself.
There is your main event for WrestleMania. John Cena. What the? Oh my God, John, what the hell are you doing? This is one of the most disgusting displays that I've ever witnessed.
I don't care how fantastical your imagination is, there is not a soul on planet Earth who foresaw this.
John, what are you doing? I mean, there are millions of children around the world that look up to this man.
Not anymore.
But this guy has done.
John Cena turning heel on Cody Rhodes, aligning with The Rock and Travis Scott at WWE Elimination Chamber. So we're going to discuss this in 2 parts. First, moment of the year, and then storyline angle of the year. This was a unanimous winner for moment of the year, and I think it's self-explanatory. John Cena turned heel for the first time in 20 years. None of us expected it to happen. It was a major moment on a WWE PLE. It led to a hot run into WrestleMania where there were ups and downs to his segments, but everyone was on edge wondering what was going to happen with John Cena. Was he actually going to win the WWE Championship? Would Vintage Chris Vanini have to rap his theme here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast? All of that absolutely happened. It was the moment of the year, unquestioned, and fully deserving of that award.
It was the moment of the year. It was the image of the year. It was, of all the times I was most excited about pro wrestling in 2025, that was the moment. The setup, what felt possible, the execution, they nailed it in a way that I didn't think was possible. So the turn itself, moment of the year without a doubt.
Yeah, it really was undoubted. And your second place vote, along with the listeners, was John Cena tapping out to Gunther in the last match. For me, it was Naomi cashing in Money in the Bank, because that was the last thing you expected. Every indication was that Naomi was going after Tiffany Stratton and the WWE Women's Championship. And we were all just fixated on Io Sky and Rhea Ripley in that match, going one-on-one, Rhea never beating Io, and Naomi cashed in and was, oh my God, that was absolutely crazy. My third place vote getter was Jade Cargill murking Naomi in Elimination Chamber. Not just because it was awesome the way she attacked her and stormed down to the ring and the way she looked, but Bianca Belair's sell of it, screaming bloody murder, stuck in that cell. It was ridiculous. For you and the listeners, it was AJ Lee returning to the company. Actually, the listeners, it was both AJ Lee returning and Naomi Cash, and it was a tie for third. But just a tremendous amount of major moments coming from WWE. And it didn't even, Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, turning together on Roman Reigns and CM Punk didn't even register here, which I thought was extremely interesting. Just to go over prior moments of the year really quick. Edge returning in 2020, CM Punk returning to AEW in 2021, Cody Rhodes returning to WWE in 2022, Sami Zayn turning on Roman Reigns, that was unanimous in 2023, and of course, Cody Rhodes finishing his story was unanimous in 2024. Moving over to the Mega Powers Explode Award, Storyline Angle of the Year. The listeners voted for this in first place. You and I did not. We both had it second. And my guess, Chris, is that we both felt it was an incredible individual moment, but then as it progressed, it didn't live up to expectations, and there were other things that stood out to us more. Do you agree?
Yes, I had seen his heel turn as second because there were too many things along the way that I disagreed with. And the run itself, the retirement run on the whole, we went over it. It was good. But the heel turn aspect of it ended up being very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Not having Rock come back, not having really coherent explanations as to why Cena was doing this and why he was doing it now. They figured it out, but it wasn't number one for me. Number one for me was Jey Uso. They, at the beginning of the year, decided, all right, we're going to see if we make this guy a new superstar. We're going to have him win the Rumble, and then you're going to have him tap out Gunther at WrestleMania. They did. Yeeting became an absolute humongous thing all through the year. And when I think what was one of the biggest accomplishments in wrestling in 2025, it was truly finally elevating Jey Uso to the main event, and for him showing that he does belong there. Maybe not always the top guy, but he is 100% a true main eventer now.
Yeah, my first place vote getter in this category was Seth Rollins aligning with Paul Heyman, turning on Roman Reigns and CM Punk and creating the vision. It didn't just serve as a massive climax to WrestleMania Night 1, way better than the finish of WrestleMania Night 2. But, I mean, when the Silver King is here on the podcast, pontificating the ways this match can end, and I predict it, and then it actually happens exactly as we called it, I couldn't see myself saying otherwise. But it wasn't just that one moment, because that's a moment. It was the follow-up the next night on Raw. Braun Breaker joining Seth and Paul and taking out both of those guys on one of the best Raw after WrestleMania episodes of the year. The Vision adding Bronson Reed, which made a lot of sense. Excommunicating Seth Rollins, really. And I didn't necessarily count this as part of it, but excommunicating Seth because he got injured and that rolling on. Becky Lynch briefly joining, the Vision was the dominant storyline in WWE other than John Cena throughout the entire year. So that's why I gave it my first place vote, and I put Cena second. You and I both had Hangman Page aligning the faces to beat the Death Riders third. The only reason that one was not higher for me is because it took forever for them to get to the point where that storyline was actually interesting. And by the time it happened, it came and went. It was too short. And the moment, again, at All In itself was not, I don't say this in any negative way, but somewhat of a facsimile of Cody Rhodes finishing the story a year prior. So it was going to be very difficult for me for that to win, but I did put it in third place. I was considering Toni Storm and Mariah May ending their feud again. That was more of a moment for me. The majority of their feud happened the year prior. And in terms of Jay, it just never touched me in a way where that was like something I would put up to one of the moments I would remember. And I'll tell you what happened and what won these awards in prior years. But for me, it wasn't that. So that was my voting order. The listeners voted Toni Storm and Mariah May third, just for the record. And they voted Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman aligning second. So they were a little closer in alignment to what Silver King was saying. The prior winners of this award in 2020, Roman Reigns becoming the tribal chief. In 2021, Hangman Page winning the AEW championship. 2022, the whole Roman Reigns, Bloodline, Sami Zayn saga. 2023, the Bloodline imploding. That was unanimous. And then last year, Cody Rhodes, The Rock, and Roman Reigns, that entire saga leading into WrestleMania. That was, of course, unanimous as well. I mentioned earlier in this show, I wanted to talk about Pat McAfee for a second. Something I realized while putting this together and listening to a lot of clips. I am so far out on Pat McAfee doing color commentary for WWE. It was refreshing when he first joined. He definitely breathed life into Cole. He's become a caricature of himself. Most of what he says is inane and actively detracts from the match. Everyone else on WWE commentary, everyone else is better than him.
Yeah, he really helped things when he got there. He did. I don't know if he got an Announcer of the Year award for us at all or not.
Never.
But
it was Michael Cole. Unanimous.
He did. There was a period of time where I liked him on WWE more than anything else he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, frankly, when he's not doing it regularly anymore, it's tough to get back to what it was. And that maybe people just kind of get tired of him over time, because unrelated in my athletic college football TV awards or announcer rankings and stuff, McAfee has been slipping and people are getting more and more tired of him over time. So I think you see what we have now with Cole and Graves and Barrett and Tessitore. Like, these are professional announcers, and they all know exactly what they're doing. They're not making it about themselves. They know how to add to what's on the screen. And there was a time, look, when Vince was running things toward the end, like, you needed McAfee to just add some energy and stuff because it wasn't going very well.
Right.
WWE doesn't need McAfee anymore, I think. And that is ultimately a credit to what WWE's done the last couple of years.
His best role for WWE is talking about them on his show. That is the most value he brings them is not on their own programming. If you want to bring Pat McAfee up for, let's say WWE does like a TLC match at WrestleMania or some type of crazy thing, or you want him involved in the on-screen product because the guy can wrestle, right? Then okay, like I'll stomach that. But bringing him on like they did for WrestlePalooza to do commentary, or bringing him on with Wade Barrett and Michael Cole for WrestleMania, it doesn't work. Like, that should be Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Wade Barrett. And frankly, Cole should probably get a break at some point and get Joe Tessitore in there for a few matches too. Or give Joe Tessitore night 1 and Michael Cole night 2 and have Wade Barrett and Corey Graves do both nights. But every single time I was cutting these clips and I was listening to stuff and I heard McAfee's voice, it was grating and it made the moment worse. And that's not good. I don't hate him by any means, but he made the product worse in 2025. He did.
It's about him, and that works in certain places. Right. I don't think it's needed in WWE anymore. And the other thing, something we didn't talk about enough this year, and maybe it wasn't necessarily up for 0.0, but when you look back, Pat McAfee, like, going long with Gunther in hindsight is kind of ridiculous. And I know Gunther was going with him for most of it, but like they did false hope spots for McAfee, and it went on a while. I don't even remember if that match went longer than Cena's match or not. But That was rough.
Then Cena and Lesnar, it definitely did. Yeah.
No, the Cena and Gunther.
Oh, no, I don't think it went as long as that. No. But it went longer than Cena and Lesnar, which is ridiculous when you think about that on its own. All right, let's move off him. He's not even really part of this award show. And let's talk Feud of the Year. The nominees are Cody Rhodes and John Cena, Toni Storm and Mariah May, Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, and then CM Punk and Seth Rollins, plus Roman Reigns, Becky Lynch, and AJ Lee. The Meaty for Feud of the Year goes to
Took his ball and went home. The most industry plant, cliche bootlicker line I've ever heard in my entire life. What paragon of virtue did you get that from, huh? Who originally said that? That wanted to turn the people against the boys when he got told no, or when he got told you're wrong. You just want to cry because I abandoned you. I was sick and tired, and I left this place, and you stayed and you ate it. We both made our choices. We both made our decisions. I have no regrets. I came back. I didn't want to make friends. I said very publicly, I'm here to make money. And next week, oh, baby, I get to make a boatload of cash, making you the victim you so badly want to be, little brother.
You know the difference between you and everybody else that left? They actually did leave, all right? My wife, she's taking a break to raise a kid. I know you don't know what that's like. You left. You wanted this place to die with the echoes of those CM Punk chants. You went on your buddy's podcast, tried to tear this place down. When that didn't work, you took every single shot you could to try to kill this place, and you still couldn't do it. And then you took a big chunk of change to go join the competition. How'd that work out for you?
I loved the place I worked. I just hated the guy in charge, and he loved you.
CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Now, that clip technically was from December 30th last year, their go-home to their first match, Raw on Netflix, a huge one between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. But they continued feuding to Mania with Roman Reigns, then to SummerSlam when Rollins cashed in on Punk. And then we got the Becky and AJ part of the feud at WrestlePalooza. So they dominated the entire year, and segments like that occurred with so many other people, all the names I just mentioned. It's the second time Rollins is involved in winning one of these Feud of the Year awards. Same thing with CM Punk. Back to back, he was the Feud of the Year unanimously with Drew McIntyre in 2024, and Chris again unanimously here in 2025.
It was a story by far that went the longest. Never quite felt like we got tired of it, partly because of various injuries and whatnot, and it's still going on now. So Punk always gets the best out of who he's working with. Typically, it was the best Cena promo. It was the best as we've seen with what Punk has done the last couple of years here. Easy number one.
You and I split our second and third place votes. I went Toni Storm and Mariah May. You went Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. But both of them were awesome feuds. Again, Storm and May, a majority of it happened in 2024, and they kind of just rekindled it in 2025. But it ended with such a flame in that Hollywood ending match. I wanted to make sure it got some significant recognition here. But you know that I loved the Becky and Lyra feud.
Yeah, and I had Storm and May in third. These two very interchangeable. Both of them did a good job of elevating kind of a newer face to generally kind of the top of respective cards, and that's what you want. You're creating more people. Lyra Valkyria hasn't really done much since then, unfortunately, but you could see from the beginning of that feud to the end how improved Lyra became, especially on the mic and becoming confident in herself and doing all these things. Really elevated her to a new level. And same with Mariah May, and then she took that over to WWE.
Yeah, the listeners also voted for Storm and May second, just so everyone knows. As mentioned, 2022, it was Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. 2023, Sami Zayn and the Bloodline unanimously. And as I said, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre unanimously in 2024. Gimmick change of the year. Your nominees: Becky Lynch, Unhinged Goat; John Cena, Last Real Champion; Naomi, Caution; El Grande Americano. I don't even understand that nomination. What gimmick change? Mariah May becoming Blake Monroe. The Meaty for gimmick change of the year goes to.
And I need you to tell me right now, because I will walk out of this ring and you will never hear from me again. So tell me here right now. I did it. There you go, B. I did it. Yeah, I did it. I did it for you. I did it for us. It was always supposed to be me. This whole time. No, don't touch me. You know why you wanted the truth? The truth is, I wish I would have pushed her harder. I should have pushed her sooner. Every time I start to clock in and stand up for myself, all of y'all turn on me. That's exactly what you doing, Bianca. You ungrateful bitch.
Naomi, our winner of Gimmick Change of the Year. I badly wanted to use a clip where she was fully in character because she only got better from here, but this was the change moment when she called the other women heifers. Even her pregnancy promo where she switched between like being so happy that she was pregnant and then also being this character. But while this may not have been a moment of the year nominee, it was one of the best segments of 2025 and might have gotten such an award if we handed one out. Naomi, year of her career. I don't want to say unfortunate that it got cut short because it was for the best reason possible. She's pregnant. They're going to have a baby. That's incredible. But for us as viewers, unfortunate that it got cut short because she was absolutely humming. Not a unanimous winner, Chris. You voted John Cena last real champion. You can tell us why in a moment. But Naomi, you did vote her second place. For me, undoubtedly the gimmick of the year.
Yeah, I did vote it second, and in hindsight, I probably should have voted it first, so I'm glad that it won anyway. That segment that you played, if I recall correctly, I actually didn't like that segment, but I did like the gimmick change overall. Like what she became, what was behind it, how she lived it, the caution tape. We didn't like when she started adding the red because we were like, the yellow and black is so great, just stick with that.
And then they got to it, yeah.
That was great. I voted last real champ for Cena because the heel turn as a whole, like I didn't love, but when they finally came around to what exactly is Cena's heel gimmick, that's ultimately what it was. That he was going to retire and keep the belt for himself. And last real champ, like, okay, that was the point where I finally got it. So it was obviously notable with Cena turning heel. I voted at one. I probably should have flipped those, but ultimately, it doesn't matter since Naomi won.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but you cost her the unanimous honors, and that is a distinction here on the Meaties, so you'll have to live with that. Becky Lynch, Unhinged Goat, was second place for both the Silver King and our Getting Overheads. Our 2023 winner was Christian when we introduced the award, and then 2024, Rock becoming the final boss. That was unanimous. Moving from an individual to a group, and we define this term, faction, by 4 or more members. The nominees for Faction of the Year are Judgment Day, Death Riders, and The Vision. And the Meaty for Faction of the Year goes to led by Jon Moxley, the Death Riders. This was not a banner year, I would say, for factions in professional wrestling, especially here in the United States. When it came to making this pick, Silver King voted Death Riders in first place. You, Chris, and the listeners both chose them in second place. For me, it wasn't about how much did I enjoy them, because for the majority of the year, or I should say for the majority of the time up until All In, I did not enjoy the Death Riders. It felt monotonous, repetitive, and just kind of frustrating what they were doing. Jon Moxley wasn't very clear in his vision and what he was trying to say. And then they got to the 2 months before All In, and everything crystallized. And they became the big bad group that you actually wanted to see fall rather than you were annoyed that they were on your screen. So not only did they improve as the year transpired, that was huge, but they were also the most dominant and consistent throughout the entire year. The other two nominees, Judgment Day, everyone kept getting injured. It was on and off. It would have been cool for them to win a third straight year, but they didn't. And the Vision, they stepped up in a major way, but I mean, it took them 2 months to say their name. They still don't have a theme. They just got a logo in 2026. And at the end, they had to excommunicate their leader because he got injured. So nothing actually fell into place for me other than Death Riders being that consistent force. And that's why they were my faction of the year. Like I said, second place for you and the listeners. Chris, why don't you tell us who your first place vote getter was? Excuse me.
Mine was Judgment Day, but this was one of those groups where it's like, well, I have to pick somebody, and I don't feel like anybody really deserves it all that great. I haven't loved the Vision. I didn't really love Death Riders.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it to Judgment Day for the way that they were able to withstand all those injuries and incredibly keep themselves relevant and interesting throughout the year.
Yeah.
That's why I gave it to them. But even they're kind of on their last legs here. It's not a great time for factions in really all of pro wrestling.
It really wasn't. Like I said, Judgment Day did win this in 2023 and 24. Bloodline, the first time we had the award in 2022. The listeners voted for Vision in first place, and it makes sense. It was such a big part of WWE this year, and they were dominant. They did have 4 members. I'll tell you, the group that I would have voted for this if they had one additional member, Fatal Influence in NXT, because JC Jane led them and they had an awesome year, but only 3 members. You are not a faction. You are just a group. Moving from at least 4 members to 2 members. Tag Team of the Year. Our nominees are the Hardys, the Kabuki Warriors, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, Judgment Day, the women, and Brodito. And the Meaty for Tag Team of the Year goes to
we about to put the pain on what they think they got it, breaking apart it. They started better than all of them, coming back to put the pain on them.
Judgment Day. And this was extremely interesting because this was a team that took 2 different incarnations in 2025. Actually, 3 by the time the year was out. You had the Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez team. Then you had the Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez team, including a transition while they held the championships. And then at the very end of the year, Raquel kind of went off on her own, still within Judgment Day. And you had Liv Morgan working with Roxanne Perez upon her return. This was the only team to receive votes from all 3 of their bodies. First place from the Silver King and Vintage, second place from the listeners. We'll talk about their first place vote getters, in a minute. But if factions were down in 2025, tag teams were down in 2025 in a major way. It looked like stuff was developing over on SmackDown, completely dissipated. Raw never got off the ground. AEW completely relegated their tag team division and their trios division throughout the year. So I'm not trying to say they won by default, but you want to talk about consistent presence. These ladies were a consistent presence in the women's tag team division, and they were excellent all year, both when they had the titles and when they did not.
Yeah, I gave it to them too, kind of along the same reasons as the faction vote, which is like, yeah, they did the most kind of with everything they were given, but this shouldn't be in a position where they're the winners. It's more of an indictment of tag team wrestling across all of it, which is why in the year in review, one of my resolutions or whatever was for everybody to fix tag team wrestling, because it's at such a low point right now. But just like with faction, you got to credit Liv, Raquel, everybody who was involved with that to make that women's tag team run continue to work.
For sure. First place vote getters from the Getting Over Heads were the Kabuki Warriors. Understandable because they were so strong at the end of the year, but I just didn't find them for a year-end award to be a winner. It just didn't make sense.
Well, no, they won the championship and they were terrible with it.
Right. They had a terrible title reign. Yeah.
I love the Kabuki Warriors, but they were made to look like chumps.
Yeah. I would have loved to adjust their vote, but I don't do that. I go by what the people said, and that's what the people said. It was overwhelming. The Kabuki Warriors, I really feel like they're just spoke to how poor it was and how slim pickings it was. If I had my way, honestly, we would not have even done this award. I could make a case for all 4 of the nominees and one team that was not nominated, all 5 of the nominees, and one team that was not among the final nominees, FTR. They did some good heel work. They were insanely repetitive, and every time they were on AEW TV, they were fast forward. My second place vote getter was Brodito. They were just the most exciting tag team of the year, most consistent in ring. They were awesome on AEW television, a tune-in reason, really good as champions, an unexpected title change. That worked. Your second place was Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, I assume because it was so fresh and getting them on screen. It made a lot of sense. Brodito did get a third place vote from the listeners as well. But you look at the prior years, 2022, the Usos, unanimous. 2023, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, another weak year. They won the titles at WrestleMania. They were a tandem throughout that year. Made sense. Fraxium no-brainers in 2024. I thought they would have a chance in 2025. And then I realized they were only in NXT for a couple months. And then as soon as they got called up to the main roster, they just disappeared. And that's one of the biggest flaws of SmackDown, as we've discussed. They had all these tag teams. There was a chance that Street Profits could have been nominated for Axiom, Motor City Machine Guns, DIY. And at the end, none of them were finalists. And that's because of the poor creative on that show. Moving to Comeback Wrestler of the Year. Our 4 finalists: Raquel Rodriguez, John Cena, Ilya Dragunov, Adam Copeland. And the Meaty for Comeback Wrestler of the Year goes to... Ilya Dragunov. Extremely tough call for the Silver King here. I'm going to explain it. John Cena had not been a full-time wrestler. He rejoins the company, does well, put on some good matches, a little bit slow in the beginning. And then as the year progressed, this guy, he had two 5-star matches, and it was outstanding that he was able to perform to that level. But he didn't actually have adversity other than time off. Ilya Dragunov returned from a torn ACL, looked better than he left, and put on banger after banger after banger on SmackDown during that United States Open Challenge run, including the initial match with Sami Zayn. And he had enough time, having returned to the company late in 2025, to not just overall be considered for the award, but to win it. A first place vote getter from the Silver King and the listeners. Second place from you, Ilya Dragunov, the Comeback Wrestler of the Year.
Yeah, it's a good one. It makes sense. Guy coming back from an injury, and he's a great wrestler. I didn't put him number 1 for 2 reasons. One, it was only like late in the year that he kind of went on his thing. And I went with Cena number 1 because this was the busiest schedule he had in many, many years in terms of the total number of matches that he wrestled. And there really wasn't a bad one in the bunch other than the ones that were supposed to be bad on purpose, like the Cody Mania one. But like, and the Brock one, which is not his fault. But the ones where he actually wrestled. Cody at SummerSlam, AJ at whatever that show was. The Gunther match
Dominic
was really
Mysterio.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he constantly just had really, really good matches for a guy his age, but also a guy who just hadn't done that in a very, very long time. And he talked about how much more he had to stretch and get ready for matches compared to what it was used to. So Cena, for me, comeback wrestler relative to the scale he was working at in the way he performed.
It's completely legitimate. For me, it just always speaks to, the overcoming adversity and coming back from it. If it's even elsewhere, that's what puts it over the top. And that's why I believe Ilya won this award deservingly so. Also, like Adam Copeland, he did come back from injury, but he was barely on television. Raquel Rodriguez did come back and did well. I felt that she was a stronger nominee in other categories, whereas Ilya Dragunov, it was, a major, major injury and came back and again performed at that level. 2020 and 21, Edge won back-to-back years, which is kind of funny. Damage Control won in 2022, considering how many comebacks there were in one group. 2023, Cody Rhodes from the torn pectoral, and 2024, CM Punk from the shoulder injury, or was that a pectoral as well? Either way, it was Punk last year.
But what does it say that Edge is always up for comeback wrestler? He shouldn't have to be doing comeback all the time.
Exactly. It's probably time for this in 2026.
He just keeps getting hurt all the time.
Should probably be his final year in 2026. Our new award, replacing Hater of the Year, something we've wanted to do at this show for a long time. Most Improved Wrestler of the Year. Your finalists, JC Jane, Raquel Rodriguez, Ethan Page, Trick Williams, and Harley Cameron. The Meaty for Most Improved Wrestler of the Year goes to Trick Williams, an extremely, extremely difficult voting decision from the Silver King. I was between Trick and JC Jane with Raquel Rodriguez right there. But this was not just about getting better in the ring, which he did. He used the last year to fully form as a WWE superstar. The TNA run did wonders for him. Raquel definitely improved. She nearly got my second place vote, but she'd still have fallen short from first place. JC, once they gave her the women's championship, she just exploded. Then she won the TNA title, won the NXT title back. And it was just crazy the way her arrow pointed up. I think Raquel is going to have a chance to win this in 2026, a great chance, potentially. But Silver King and the Getting Overheads were aligned here with Trick Williams as the most improved wrestler of the year.
See, that's interesting. I didn't have him at all because to me, like, he'd already won an NXT championship in 2024. Like, he is definitely improved.
He wasn't ready for it, and it was blatant that he wasn't ready for it.
No, but to me, like, his bigger year was 2024. I went with JC Jane. She showed that she's somebody who can be the face of a division after being the third most notable person in a trio for a while. From where she started to where she got to me, that was the biggest distance covered. I had Raquel at number 2 and Harley Cameron number 3.
Yeah, Harley had a great year. Ethan Page, he got nominated and it made sense, but for me, it wasn't so much an improvement as it was a focus on him. They actually went with him, and that's more of a creative decision than it is him improving his game, although he did say in our interview that he felt like he had improved throughout 2025 and learned a lot in WWE. But I agree with those other 4. Harley got so much better in 2025. Raquel, you saw those signs of improvement at the end of the year. Like I said, I think she's game to win this in 2026. And JC was my second place vote getter. She was awesome over the second half of the year in particular. Moving over to Breakout Wrestler of the Year, we have 4 final nominees: Javon Evans, Stephanie Vaquer, Ethan Page, and Bandito. The Meaty for Breakout Wrestler of the Year goes to La Primera, Stephanie Vaquer, a unanimous winner. The first time a woman has won this unanimously. The third time in 5 years a woman has won Breakout Wrestler of the Year. Unquestioned, okay? She joined NXT, had an incredible immediate response from the crowd, won the North American Championship and the NXT Championship, goes over to WWE main roster, wins that Battle Royal at WWE Evolution to become number 1 contender, and then wins the Women's World Championship, and the whole time is getting incredible reactions, even when they tested her on screen on the Raw after WrestleMania in that random match against Io Sky, and you heard that response. you said, oh boy, she's not going to be in NXT that much longer because she broke out. She's the definition of a breakout wrestler and totally deserving of this honor.
She was mine vote as well for all the reasons that we said. From the quick rise to being women's champion, like that's the definition of breaking out right there. Things to clean up, obviously, as we've talked about the promos, and you got to figure that. But in terms of nobody established themselves as legitimate more than she did this year. This is where I put Ethan Page number 2, because he improved, like you said, improved wasn't quite it, but this was Ethan Page reminding everybody he can kind of carry a show if you want to. And he did that at times with NXT and the North American belt and what he was doing there. He very much was elevated into a bigger spot and came through. I put Javon Evans 3rd. Still a lot of room to go, but he clearly established himself and got to the main roster.
Yeah, our votes were aligned here entirely. I had Ethan Page 2nd for all the reasons you mentioned. Javon Evans 3rd. I actually think Javon kind of broke out in 2024, if you're talking about like breaking on the scene, and he got usurped by Jey Uso in that spot. And here he got usurped by both Ethan Page and Stephanie Vaquero. It's unfortunate. He's not eligible for this again unless he just has an absolutely insane year on the main roster. But had he won the NXT championship, there might have been a case for him to be voted higher. Unfortunately, that did not happen. The listeners voted him in 2nd and Bandito in 3rd. And now we move into our final 4 tentpole awards, where we cover the matches and wrestlers of the year. We start with the worst match of the year. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at WrestleMania 41. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar at WrestlePalooza. Claudio Castagnoli against Jeff Jarrett. And Jon Moxley versus Adam Copeland, with Christian Cage cashing in his title contract. And the Meaty for worst match of the year goes to...
And now Brock again with Cena on his shoulders. Lesnar will deliver another F5 to John Cena. Our official, Dan Engler, has got to get into this thing and just tell Brock to put this away, because this is becoming a massacre. A career assassination of Cena at the hands of the Beast. Cover on John, and Brock Lesnar destroys, and I mean destroys, John Cena tonight.
Clearly, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar at WrestlePalooza, and Michael Cole's call on that match pretty much describes why this won the award. First of all, no one wanted this match to happen. No one wanted Brock Lesnar back, but no one wanted this match to happen. And then by the time we came to it, we said, you know what? All right, we don't want the match, but John Cena and Brock Lesnar have had incredible matches before. And if they're going to run it back, then maybe it's going to be great. And instead, they basically rehashed Suplex City, and they did it for no reason whatsoever. The idea, as Cena explained it later, was that Lesnar was staying with the promotion and he was not, so it would help him. Since when does a guy named the Beast Incarnate, who has already ended the Undertaker streak and beaten your ass and is on the last legs of his own career, since when does he need to be reestablished? This accomplished nothing in the moment. Maybe it got some people to watch the show head-to-head with the Florida-Miami game, but everyone left it disappointed. It opened the show, so you put a bad taste in everyone's mouth at the very beginning. They dropped it after the fact. Like, Cena never talked about it again. Lesnar never talked about it again. So it had zero value except for being an absolutely terrible match, and that's why it didn't just win worst match of the year. It was unanimous.
Yeah, that's why it was also my 0.0. Like, it didn't ultimately mean anything. It's not like, has Brock done any? I mean, he went to War Games. Like, that was it. He hasn't done anything since then. There was no point to it. Cena's gone. Cena never talked about it again. It didn't accomplish what it wanted to accomplish, I don't think. Whenever Brock comes back, like, that, it's not going to be in anybody's memory at all. So, yeah.
He was already back. He did the War Games match. They didn't even mention it. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so that was my number 1 by a mile. I had Jarrett, Claudio, and Cope Christian Mox as my 2 and 3.
Yeah, understandable. Both Silver King and the listeners had Cody and Cena at WrestleMania 41 second, not because it was the worst wrestled match, the second worst wrestled match of the year, but just because it was such a waste. It was the WrestleMania main event. When you're on a stage like that and you don't deliver, you deserve, to be in this category. It's the same reason why last year's winner, Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso, won. It wasn't just because that match was bad, which it was, but there were worse matches that year. But it was the stage that it was on that made it hurt even more. Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler was 2023 in the Men's Royal Rumble in 2022.
I didn't put Cena Cody because it was supposed to be bad. Like, that was the story of the match.
It still was.
That's why I didn't include it.
It still freaking was bad. Now, we'll move from the worst to the best, because what everyone really wants to know is what was the match of the year in 2025. And we have 4 nominees left. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 41. John Cena versus AJ Styles at Crown Jewel, and Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay on AEW TV. And the Meaty for match of the year goes to
Ripley went for the riptide, countered by Belair. Bianca, oh my goodness!
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Using the brain as a weapon. KOD by Belair for the win. Io Sky over the moonsault. Cover on Belair. Sky wins. Io Sky wins.
What?
Here is your winner, and still the Women's World Champion, Io Sky.
Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 41, a unanimous winner. This was extremely tough for Silver King, okay? All 3 of those WWE finalists were there for me. The Cena Styles match, Rollins, Punk, and Reigns. I almost voted for Io and Rhea at Evolution with Naomi cashing in. I was like, how was that not better than the triple threat? So what I did, I watched them all back. And this match was way shorter than all those other matches. But what that meant is that it was a sprint. It was nonstop action. It was the opening match of the show. And you want to talk about kicking off a major event on the right note? They could not have done it any better. It was flawless execution. So Io, Rhea, and Bianca, you're getting your flowers. 2025 match of the year right here on the Meaties.
Yeah, to me, this was number one. These are all great matches, but this was a clear number one to me. I thought it in the moment. I thought it watching some of it back. We knew they were going to deliver. They did. Triple threats are really hard to do. But when you get them right, they can be incredible. That's what this one was. Easy number one for me. I had Ospreay Hangman number 2, Cena Styles number 3.
Silver King and the listeners both had Cena Styles second. The match was incredible. The environment was incredible. Everything about it was awesome. There was 0 storyline going in. I couldn't give it my first place vote because of that. Both Silver King and the listeners also had Rollins, Punk, and Reigns third. The match with a real finish might have eclipsed the women, but it wasn't a real finish. It was a chair and Paul Heyman in the ring and low blows, and you're not going to get a match of the year honor for me. Similarly, the Evolution match with Io, Rhea, and then Naomi cashing in, had that been a finish between Io and Rhea, it might have eclipsed the triple threat because that was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But even though the Naomi moment was incredible, it was awesome, it wasn't the conclusion to the match that was scheduled on the card. So for all those reasons, I couldn't get there. I did want to shout out both TLC matches, especially the one on SmackDown, the 3-team one with DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Street Profits. That was awesome. Tony Storm and Mariah May, the Hollywood ending. It wasn't a final vote getter here. That deserves a lot of credit. This is the first time in the history of the Meaties that the women are winning a match of the year honor. Gunther led the award in 2020 through 2023. And then last year it was Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes unanimously at WrestleMania 40. The women here taking the honor from the men. Match of the year. And let's stick with the ladies because we are going to talk Women's Wrestler of the Year. Your 5 finalists for the award: JC Jane, Io Sky, Mercedes Moné, Stephanie Vaquer, and Becky Lynch. The Meaty for Women's Wrestler of the Year goes to Io Sky. Gotta tell you, it filled the Silver King with so much happiness to see that she not only won Women's Wrestler of the Year, but did so unanimously. She was the main character of the WWE Women's Division. When coming into the year, it seemed like the company had kind of forgotten about her. And in our 2024 year in review, when we did our resolutions for 2025, the one thing I hoped was that Paul Levesque would book Io as the best women's wrestler in the world, which we all know she can be from a talent perspective. She was given that opportunity. She not only won the title on Raw off of Rhea Ripley and maintained her undefeated streak above the top women's wrestler in the company, she retained the title at WrestleMania in that moment, had another incredible match with Rhea, and then they teamed up and put together an awesome babyface duo that got both of them even more over than they were before. To me, there are other women that had incredible years. We talked about Stephanie Vaquer, Mercedes Moné doing the Ultimo Moné gimmick, collecting belts. That was the gimmick. She had incredible matches in 2025 and deserves a lot of credit for raising the stakes of the AEW women's division. Becky Lynch, you heard me talk about ad nauseum on the podcast. I thought she deserved real consideration for Women's Wrestler of the Year, despite not holding the main title at all in 2025. Ultimately, despite all of them, and JC Jane, who we talked about as massively improved herself, it was always Io Sky. Not just for the Silver King, but for you, Vintage, and for our Getting Overheads.
Yeah, another one that was, I think, pretty easy to me for all the reasons that you said. She was in the biggest matches. She was in the best matches. She was in pretty much every major storyline. She was the focus of everything. In a year when we all wanted and thought we were going to get Rhea Bianca straight up, they put Io in there. And you liked it because you love Io. And I was like, I don't know if we really want this yet. I don't know if Io's on that level yet. And Io leveled up and put herself on that level now to where she's a meme. She is as big a deal as almost anybody in the company. And the women, easy number one for me. I put Mercedes number two. Actually, JC Jane number three.
I also had Mercedes number two, and you all know who I had third. I had Becky Lynch in the third spot. And now our final award, Men's Wrestler of the Year. Our nominees: Mystico, John Cena, Gunther, and Dominic Mysterio. The Meaty for Men's Wrestler of the Year goes to
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now.
In case you forgot or fell off, I'm still hot, knock your shell off. My money stacked fat, plus I can't turn the swell off. Franchise doing big business, I live this, it's automatic. I win this so you can hear those ones you finish. A soldier, and I stay under you fighting. Cause I'm storming on you chumps like thunder and lightning. Ain't no way you breaking me, kid, I'm harder than nails. Plus I keep it on lock like I'm part of the jail. I'm smarter and stale, competition. I got the whole block wishing they could run with my division, but they gone fishing with no bait. Can't your boy hold weight? I got your soul straight. I brush your mouth like Colgate. In any weather, I'm never better. Your boy's so hot, you'll never catch me in the next man's sweater. And if they hate, let them hate. I drop their whole clan. Lay your ass down for the 3-second tan. Chris, I did that for you just as a little goodwill. John Cena, your Men's Wrestler of the Year for 2025, a unanimous vote getter. There are going to be a bunch of people who win this award across a bunch of places honoring wrestlers this year. I don't understand how it could be anyone but John Cena. Were there people who had better in-ring years? Sure. Were there people that you might have found more entertaining? Yeah, possibly. But when you combine everything that was 2025, the major moments that Cena put on screen, the incredible matches that he had, the business that he drove for WWE, how front and center he was throughout the entire year. To me, this was the most no-brainer award in the entire Meatys. John Cena, Men's Wrestler of the Year.
He defined the year in pro wrestling. And to me, that's ultimately what I go with on this vote. Who was doing the most impactful things? Who was doing the best job in those moments? Not everybody who's placed on the pedestal succeeds and does it as well. But EO did it for the women.
Mm-hmm.
Cena did it for the men. He did not have a bad match in which he was not supposed to have a bad match. So many good promos. Our biggest complaint ultimately about the Cena retirement run was just that we didn't get more of it because it was so good. We've come around on the way he went out and ultimately agree with it. Male Wrestler of the Year for the last time.
By the way, we talk about like the AJ Styles match was great and the Gunther match and Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. But how about he was final 2 in Royal Rumble? He won Elimination Chamber. He had the heel turn moment. I mean, it was one thing after another. And when I kept trying to parse it, it was like, well, did Will Ospreay put on 6 incredible matches? Yeah, he did. Did Mystico drive a ton of business for CMLL? Yeah, he did. I gave him my second place vote. Did Gunther have a great year retiring Goldberg and then obviously retiring John Cena, having great matches in his own right? Yeah. Was Dominic Mysterio crazy popular, winning the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, going and becoming AAA mega champion and dominating that promotion and helping revive them? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, John Cena did all of that as one person. And to me, this was like, again, I don't necessarily care who other people who give awards vote for. But to me, if it's not John Cena, I kind of feel like you're lying to yourself. And I wouldn't say that about voting for Mercedes Moné over Io Sky or voting for Stephanie Vaquer over Io Sky because you believe her breakout was so monstrous that it deserves that honor. But when it comes to the Men's Wrestler of the Year, by definition, in every way, including having some of the best matches in ring, was John Cena.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. Everybody can have their own criteria. I mean, how many... You probably don't have a number of individual votes, but I have to imagine there were people other than Cena that got some votes, right?
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't the most unanimous, meaning like he got 100% of the fan vote. No.
Right.
But was it dominant? I'm trying to scroll through while you're talking.
Yes.
It was pretty freaking dominant. I would say he received over 50% of the total vote for first place.
And it's well deserved. It's why I had him as Comeback Wrestler of the Year. Because I didn't expect that much good stuff from John Cena after having barely done it over the last several years. He is, to me, he's not the greatest wrestler of all time. He's not the GOAT, but WWE will present it as such, and that's their prerogative to do it. But the especially the last few months of Cena, it was a reminder of why everyone fell in love with him in the first place and why he was able to carry a company for 10 to 15 years on his own when the creative was a complete disaster. And I don't know, not everybody would have been able to do that. And that's a credit to him. And I'm glad we got to celebrate him on his way out. And well done. Salute to John Cena.
I didn't even mention, by the way, him winning the career Grand Slam and taking the Intercontinental Championship, putting over 3 women in his penultimate match, in his final premium live event match. It was quite a run filled with memorable moments, despite there being some down moments as well that we look back on and really frustrate us. And that's why John Cena didn't just dominate this award and dominate wrestling in 2025. He dominated the Meatys. I mean, he was all over this for better and for worse. Deservingly so. I'm extremely excited to see what 2026 is going to look like when now you extricate John Cena from this. And Roman Reigns is no longer a dominant personality in WWE. And Cody Rhodes has started the year being removed from the main championship picture. Who steps up next year? Who steps this year, I should say? Who moves into this role? I'll tell you, I've gone through it with the other awards. I forgot to do it with these last 2. Bianca Belair was a unanimous female wrestler of the year in 2021 and 22. Then it was Becky Lynch in 2023. And Liv Morgan surprised us by winning last year. For the men, It was Roman Reigns in 2021. Then he won it unanimously in 2022. Gunther in 2023. And then Cody Rhodes unanimously in 2024. So 3 of the last 4 years, it has been unanimous. Reigns in 22, Rhodes in 24, and Cena here in 25. But what if those 3 guys are not part of this picture in 26? That's going to be extremely interesting.
It really, we kind of move into a new era here where who's going to define the year? I have no idea. Like, we knew Cody and Roman were going to kind of be the guys, but now we don't. I mean, CM Punk's a champion, but he's obviously on toward the end of his career. Seth Rollins is still out. Cody just lost the belt. It feels like there's an opportunity here for someone to really kind of make 2026 their year. And for the women too. I mean, the women are incredibly deep, but I wouldn't say either of the women's world champions in WWE are kind of leading at the moment. AEW as well. So real chance for a lot of new faces to win these awards, I think, next year.
That's true. I do think, Mercedes Moné is probably going to have her storyline finally to go after the main AEW women's title.
Mm-hmm.
I would call her an early front runner for it, but I don't expect Io Sky to be in the picture again. Maybe a returning Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, I could see potentially, but then who? You know what I mean? Like, and for the men, I think is completely wide open. I believe that. The women, I think I probably named 3 finalists. We'll see. Well, Chris, that wraps up the 2025 Getting Over Awards, aka
the Meatys.
And we appreciate all of you joining us for the 6th annual award show presented by your boys here at the Getting Over Wrestling Podcast. If you appreciate all the work that we put into creating these for you, then there is something that you can remember.
It's all about the 5.
It is all about the 5 right here on the Getting Over Wrestling Podcast. So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky for episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. On YouTube, you can listen to our episodes and you can watch full-length video interviews. Across the board, follow us at Getting Overcast. And don't forget,
I happen to love the number 5.
And I hope you do as well. For $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. It was an absolute pleasure to bring you the 2025 Getting Over Awards, aka
the Meatys.
Make sure you listen to our 2025 year in review. If you missed it, make sure you listen to our John Cena career retrospective special episode at the end of December. If you missed it, the world of professional wrestling is just getting started for 2026, and it is already off the chain. So we will be back in 12 months with another year in review and with the 2026 Getting Over Awards, aka
the Meatys.
Make sure you listen to our WWE show for some new enhancements coming to the Getting Over Wrestling Podcast as we continue growing this performance-enhancing audio medium. On behalf of Vintage Chris Vanini, this is the Silver King Adam Silverstein signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.